Good morning, everyone. I'm used to people saying good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all very much for coming down in such short order. I was watching the President's speech the other evening, and it was quite inspiring, regardless of your political affiliation, but it did lay out a sense that the economy is getting better, people are starting to feel better about themselves, and I think that it's clearly, although not necessarily at the national averages, but to a large degree, it's clearly affected the city of Philadelphia and the things that have happened and the outlook as it relates to the city of Philadelphia. So what I'd like to do is just briefly kind of give a sense of what some of the things that the city council has done. As we move towards the implementation phase, I would like to just address some very important initiatives that City Council has in fact done in a very comprehensive way. We were working on a series of initiatives, and we like to call them income inequality initiatives. One of the things that you will be seeing implemented this year is the wage tax relief for low-income workers, because as we know, having to be in a position to have a wage tax when you're at the lowest rung as it relates to income is quite challenging. So that provision will be implemented this year. There's been some robust discussion in this chambers about raising the minimum wage. Fortunately, working with the administration, we have put in place a minimum wage standards, particularly being led by Councilman Good, as it relates to enacting legislation that deals with contracts. But what we want to do, working with the state, because we believe that this is something that clearly needs to be enacted on the state, is to ensure that we get an increase in the minimum wage on the state level and subsequently, hopefully, on the national level. There are a couple of controversial initiatives that we are working on. There will be a hearing next week on earned sick leave. I understand that there are people on both sides of the equation. As the council president and formerly as the council person, introduced the initial bill and fully supportive of the current version. We will be having a robust discussion in council next week about that particular provision. We don't think it's fair for a person that does not have sick leave. Traditionally, probably in most cases, the people that are in that position are the lowest end of the spectrum as it relates to wages. So we think that person should have an opportunity to earn sick leave. One of the initiatives that we're most proud of, particularly as it relates to the collaborative nature of how we put in place the affordable housing strategy, building an affordable future. You will be seeing in this implementation phase over the next year or two, you'll probably see an unprecedented level of affordable housing units built in the city of Philadelphia. Both in terms of the traditional affordable housing, where we brought federal, state, local resources, the Housing Authority and the administration put together a pool of money. We'll probably have more than $300 million on the street for affordable housing. You will be hearing an announcement very soon about the workforce housing, and it'll be a very creative strategy that will cost the city no money, but it will put in place housing that will be affordable for moderate income individuals, something that is sorely lacking in the city of Philadelphia. We will continue the conversations. We're actually starting to expand this conversation about school-based family service centers. As we talk about education, and unfortunately, we have a governor who acknowledges and will quite aggressively talk about dealing with this school funding issue that is not only a Philadelphia situation, it is actually a statewide challenge. We understand that there will be some difficulties as he figures out a way to navigate the Republican General Assembly, but the good thing is that in last year's debate about a cigarette tax, we got a clear sense that statewide there was an understanding that we had to do more funding for education, not only in the city of Philadelphia, but across the state. So we look forward to that conversation. So while we've accomplished a lot, more than $300 million in local funding, going to schools, laying out some of these initiatives, and as you see the implementation phase take place, The simple reality is you can't just rest on your laurels because there needs to be a lot more done. One of the things that you're going to be hearing real soon is something that we call super. It might sound like a pretty corny name, but the simple reality is coming up with these catchy names can be somewhat difficult. But the reality is we're going to have a program in the process that talks about school, university partnerships on educational resources. And you say, well, what is that? Over the last decade or so, there's been this conversation about pilots, payments in lieu of taxes. As you know, when the Rendell administration was in, there was had some ability to enact taxes on local nonprofits. There were some changes in the state laws that limited or virtually prohibited the local municipalities' ability to enact taxes because these nonprofits do not pay certain taxes in the city of Philadelphia. During the debate over the last several years, let me say, there was not only a full acknowledgement, but in instances across the city, there was actually participation from our wonderful universities. We cannot be in a situation where we have world-class universities, and some would question whether or not we're better than Boston, but at a minimum, we're in the top two, from our perspective, and have the level of school district that we currently have. That just simply doesn't make sense. So we'll be working on this process called super, where we will formalize. You can't have a situation where you talk about Penn Alexander, where the University of Pennsylvania has done a really good job in forming a partnership with the school district and the Penn Alexander School, but have a situation in other parts of the city where you virtually have no resources whatsoever. As I went to the Spring Garden School in the summer, where the school nurse was in the corner of a room, a box with a red cross that essentially was the nurse, right? As the principal of the school said, this is all we have, and she had to actually teach teachers how to apply Band-Aids. Can't have that environment in the city of Philadelphia. So what we will be doing, working with all of the stakeholders, is moving towards a process that we call super, for lack of a better term, that will put us in a position to formalize that partnership between our illustrious universities and the school district in the city of Philadelphia and the city of Philadelphia, because we believe that there are a significant number of resources that we can in fact put on the table to take us to the next level. Those are the things that we can do locally. While we need significant resources from the state as it relates to annualized funding, we need to look at the things that we can do now. We will also be working on a committee. I will be asking the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development to look at a process that I've just referenced as it relates to affordable housing. Across the city of Philadelphia, in the state and the federal government, there are a series of resources that will help small businesses, that will help mid-level and large-scale businesses either locate or expand their businesses in these various municipalities and regions. And what we like to do is to start the process as identifying those resources to make sure that they can be consolidated, that we can match them, that we can form public-private partnership that will allow us to create a level of economic opportunity that will provide job opportunities for all the citizens of the city and the region. I like to reference the Merchants Fund. Anybody here ever heard of the Merchants Fund? Government. So as an example, the Merchants Fund is a relatively small organization that actually provides cash grants to small businesses, right, to provide support for expansion of startups. And those are the kind of things that most people don't know about. So what we're going to do is basically replicate what we did in the housing initiative, the affordable housing initiatives, and bring all of the resources available and try to match them up with public and private sources to make sure that there's a significant amount of opportunity out on the streets for businesses to continue to grow as a part of our economic development strategy. And the last one, during the last 3-4 months, there's been this conversation centered around the Philadelphia Gas Works. And I've received a significant amount of press personally to the point where it has increased my name recognition quite dramatically. And if I were to run for mayor, right, that particular phase of that process would be enhanced as a result of the significant amount of press that must note, all of it not necessarily positive, as a result of this very, very important initiative. And you all know how we concluded that process, where the City Council did not support the proposal as was submitted by the administration. But at the end of that process, we did acknowledge that there needed to be something beyond the existing footprint of PGW and the existing strategy. And as a result of the conclusion of that conversation, we found out a number of things that PGW actually had started working on a process to expand and enhance its operations. You will shortly be seeing a capital budget that will be submitted by the Philadelphia Gas Works that talks about a significant enhancement of its existing operations. We have had numerous individuals come in and talk about possibilities with PGWs, some of the opportunities that exist with the company and in conjunction with the company or in partnership with the company are quite exciting. So as a result of that, what we're going to do with these, we will be introducing a resolution, announcing a resolution first of next week to lay out its members, the co-chairs, and that committee will have the responsibility of addressing and identifying and working with a significant number of interested parties as it relates to where we go with the Philadelphia Gas Works and related entities. I'm quite excited about the things that we've said, that we've seen, and the things that we've heard. Look forward to that committee doing its due diligence to identify what should be the best strategy as it relates to the energy opportunities in the city of Philadelphia. We will look forward to the report that will be issued by that committee, and it's our hope that we can work with all of the stakeholders, both public and private, to clearly take advantage of what we see are very exciting opportunities. So with that, I will end this conversation. We anticipate that it will be a very, very fruitful conversation as we move towards the next month. I'd like to say, again, that this has been one of the most substantive and progressive city councils that I've ever had an opportunity to work with, and I feel real proud about the fact that I'm a member of this legislative body, and look forward to continuing doing great work.